As fears of a wider US-Iran war grow across the region, Gaza's much-touted peace plan is increasingly being portrayed as a framework that could quietly leave Hamas armed and ready for Israel's next nightmare scenario. Donald Trump's internationally backed Board of Peace promises long-term stability and reconstruction, yet Hamas is still believed to be holding on to thousands of rifles and other weapons in Gaza. Phase 2 of the Gaza ceasefire is being framed by US envoy Steve Witkoff as a shift away from active warfare and toward governance, with technocrats and the Board of Peace taking over day-to-day administration. Israeli intelligence estimates that Hamas still commands roughly 20,000 fighters on the ground and retains access to as many as 60,000 rifles, leaving a substantial armed force intact beneath the ceasefire. An opinion piece in the Jerusalem Post argues that this arrangement is not genuine peace at all, but rather a form of strategic denial wrapped in diplomatic language and process. The US president has repeatedly warned that there will be hell to pay if Hamas refuses to give up its weapons, insisting that disarmament is the condition for turning the ceasefire into a lasting settlement. Iran's support for Hamas has been long-standing and multifaceted, involving financial funding, weapons transfers, technical assistance, military training, and political backing over many years. US estimates indicate that Iran has annually provided Hamas with funding ranging from tens to potentially hundreds of millions of dollars, underwriting the group's operations and armed buildup. Through the IRGC's Quds Force, Iran has supplied Hamas with weapons, components for local production, and specialized military training for its fighters to sharpen their combat capabilities. Hamas leaders have traveled to Tehran on multiple occasions, publicly reaffirming political solidarity with the Islamic Republic and deepening cooperation in their struggle against Israel. The risk of a proxy escalation deepens as US-Iran tensions surge over Iran's protest crackdown and Trump's visible military buildup around the Gulf region. Tehran has accused both Washington and Tel Aviv of fueling domestic unrest and plotting regime change, framing the protests as part of a foreign-backed conspiracy. Iranian officials have warned that any American strike on Iran would trigger retaliation not only against US forces, but also against regional host countries that house American bases. The Jerusalem Post analysis warns that, for Iran, Hamas could become the cheapest and fastest response option, allowing Tehran to hit Israel quickly without directly entering a wider war. Analysts caution that if a US-Iran clash erupts, the opening shots may not be fired in Tehran at all, but instead in Tel Aviv or Gaza via Iranian-backed proxies. In such a scenario, Gaza's new Board of Peace risks becoming little more than a thin facade, sitting uneasily on top of some 60,000 waiting rifles still controlled by Hamas. By prioritizing governance and reconstruction before Hamas is genuinely defeated and disarmed, the Board of Peace may inadvertently end up funding and organizing the next strategic catastrophe rather than preventing it.